Asturias, officially the Principality of Asturias, is an autonomous community in northwest Spain. It is coextensive with the province of Asturias, and contains some of the territory that was part of the larger Kingdom of Asturias in the Middle Ages. Divided into 8 comarca, the autonomous community of Asturias is bordered by Cantabria to the east, by Castile and Leon to the south, by Galicia to the west, and by the Bay of Biscay to the north. The most important cities are the communal capital, Oviedo, the seaport and largest city Gijón, and the industrial town of Avales. Other municipalities in Asturias include Cangas de Onís, Cangas del Narcés, Gozón, Grado, Langreo, Clanera, La Viana, Lina, Clanes, Mies, Sierro, Valdés, Bagadillo and Villaviciosa. Asturias is also home to the Princess of Asturias Awards. History. Asturias has been inhabited, first by Homo erectus, then by Neanderthals and finally by modern humans, since the Lower Paleolithic era, and during the Upper Paleolithic was characterized by cave paintings in the eastern part of the area. In the Mesolithic period, a native culture developed, that of the Asturians, and later, with the introduction of the Bronze Age, megaliths and tumuli were constructed. In the Iron Age, the territory came under the cultural influence of the Celts. The local Celtic peoples, known as the Astures, were composed of tribes such as the Logons, the Paicicos, and others, who populated the entire area with Castris. Today the Astur Celtic influence persists in place names, such as those of rivers and mountains. With the conquest of Asturias by the Romans under Augustus, the region entered into the annals of history. After several centuries without foreign presence, the Suebian Visigoths occupied the land from the 6th century AD to the beginning of the 8th century, ending with the Moorish invasion of Spain. However, as it had been for the Romans and Visigoths, the Moors did not find mountainous territory easy to conquer, and the lands along Spain's northern coast never fully became part of Islamic Spain. Rather, with the beginning of the Moorish conquest in the 8th century, this region became a refuge for Christian nobles, and in 722, a de facto independent kingdom was established, the Regnum Asturorum, which was to become the cradle of the incipient Reconquista. In the 10th century, the Kingdom of Asturias gave way to the Kingdom of Leon. During the Middle Ages, the geographic isolation of the territory made historical references scarce. Through the rebellion of Henry II of Castile in the 14th century, the Principality of Asturias was established. The most famous proponents of independence were Gonzalo Pelaez and Queen Uricar, who, while achieving significant victories, were ultimately defeated by Castilian troops. After its integration into the Kingdom of Spain, Asturias provided the Spanish court with high-ranking aristocrats and played an important role in the colonization of America. Since 1388, the heir to the Castilian throne has been styled Prince of Asturias. In the 16th century, the population reached 100,000 for the first time, and within another century that number would double due to the arrival of American corn. During the 18th century, Asturias was one of the centers of the Spanish Enlightenment. The renowned Galician thinker Benito de Fadú settled in the Benedictine monastery of San Vicente de Oviedo. Gaspar Melchor de Jovellanos, a polymath and prominent reformer and politician of the late 18th century, was born in the seaside town of Gijón. The Industrial Revolution came to Asturias after 1830 with the discovery and systematic exploitation of coal mines and iron factories at the mining basins of Nalón and Caudal. That turned Asturias into an industrial region. At the same time, there was significant migration to America. Those who succeeded overseas often returned to their native land much wealthier. These entrepreneurs were known collectively as Indianos, for having visited and made their fortunes in the West Indies and beyond. The heritage of these wealthy families can still be seen in Asturias today. Many large, modernist villas are dotted across the region, as well as cultural institutions such as free schools and public libraries. Asturias played an important part in the events that led up to the Spanish Civil War. In October 1934, the Asturian miners and other workers staged an armed uprising to oppose the coming to power of the right-wing CEDA party, which had obtained 3 ministerial posts in the centralist government of the Second Spanish Republic. For a month, a Popular Front committee exercised control in southern Asturias, while local workers' committees sprang up elsewhere in the region. A war committee dominated by anarcho-syndicalist supporters took power in Oviedo. Troops under the command of a then-unknown general named Francisco Franco Bejarmond were brought from Spanish Morocco to suppress the revolt. Franco applied tactics normally reserved for overseas colonies, using troops of the Spanish Legion and Moroccan troops. Ferocious oppression followed. As a result, Asturias remained loyal to the Republican government during the Spanish Civil War, and was the scene of an extraordinary defense in extreme terrain, the Battle of El Mazuco, with Franco eventually gaining control of all Spain. Asturias, traditionally linked to the Spanish crown, was known merely as the province of Oviedo, from 1939 until Franco's death in 1975. The province's name was restored fully after the return of democracy to Spain, in 1977. In the 50s and 60s, the industrial progress of Asturias continued with the constitution of national enterprises like Ensidese and Hanosa. But the 80s was the decade of a dramatic industrial restructuring. Rafael Luis Fernández Alvarez, who had previously served as the president of the Regional Council since 1978, became the first president of the Principality of Asturias. Upon the adoption of autonomy, the Asturian regional government holds comprehensive competencies in important areas such as health, education and protection of the environment. As of May 2011, the president of the government of Asturias was Francisco Alvarez Cascos, of the Foro Asturias, succeeded by Javier Fernández in 2012. Administrative and territorial division. Asturias is organized territorially into municipalities, further subdivided into parishes. Municipalities of Asturias. There are at present 78 municipalities in Asturias. Parishes. The parroquia or parish is the subdivision of the Asturian municipalities. Currently, there are 857 parishes integrating the 78 municipalities in the region, and they usually coincide with the ecclesiastic divisions. Geography and climate. The Cantabrian Mountains form Asturias's natural border with the province of Leon to the south. In the eastern range, the Picos de Europa National Park contains the highest and arguably most spectacular mountains, rising to 2,648 meters at the Torrecerrado Peak. Other notable features of this predominantly limestone range are the Parque Natural de Redes in the central east, the Central Ubinas south of Oviedo, and the Parque Natural de Somiedo in the west. The Cantabrian Mountains offer opportunities for activities such as climbing, walking, skiing and caving, and extend some 200 kilometers in total, as far as Galicia province to the west of Asturias and Cantabria province to the east. The Asturian coastline is extensive, with hundreds of beaches, coves and natural sea caves. Notable examples include the Playa del Silencio near the fishing village of Cudillero, as well as the many beaches surrounding the summer resort of Clanes, such as the Barro, Balatar and Torrembia. Most of Asturias's beaches are sandy, clean, and bordered by steep cliffs, on top of which it is not unusual to see grazing livestock. The key features of Asturian geography are its rugged coastal cliffs and the mountainous interior. The climate of Asturias, as with the rest of northwest Spain, is more varied than that of southern parts of the country. Summers are generally humid and warm with considerable sunshine but also some rain. Winters are cold with some very cold snaps. The cold is especially felt in the mountains, where snow is present from October till May. Both rain and snow are regular weather features of Asturian winters. In coastal or near coastal areas, daytime high temperatures generally average around 12 degrees Celsius to 13 degrees Celsius during winter and 22 degrees Celsius to 23 degrees Celsius in summer. Pollution. The Gijon area was marked and singled out as one of the pollution hotspots in Western Europe in a 2015 report from the International Institute for Applied Science Systems, where predecisions for 2030 conditions were made. The Gijon and Oviedo region was marked much higher than any other Spanish metro area. This in spite of the much larger population in Madrid and Barcelona, for example. This was attributed to heavy industrial activities. Since outdoor air pollution is a major cause of premature death in Europe, the excessive pollution is a major concern for Asturias. The majority of Asturias' population live within a 25 km range from the port of Gijon, so pollution would be likely to heavily affect the population. A Spanish government study conducted in 2010 regarding life expectancy in relative communities, Asturias was ranked lowest for male life expectancy, with 76.7 years from 2007 readings. However, female life expectancy was 84 years and normal among autonomous communities. However, even the male life expectancy is only just below Western European standards, and exaggerated by the high Spanish life expectancy rate. Considering a vast majority of the Asturian population lives in proximity to the Gijon heavy industrial activities, these figures for especially female relative health still contributes to a position that Gijon is still a safe location to live. The numbers for disability-free life expectancy has risen significantly both for males and females in the area since 1986 according to the report. An update. Also, the two other major polluters Arcelor Gijon and Arcelor Avilés have announced an investment of €100 million to do the same. These have been the major cause of the area's high airborne pollution. Demographics. In 2008, Asturias had a total fertility rate of 1.07, the lowest in the European Union. Languages. The only official language in Asturias is Spanish. The Asturian language, also known as Babel, is also spoken, and is protected by law. It is sometimes used by the Asturian civil service. In the western part of Asturias, Ionavian is also spoken, and its promotion also falls under the responsibility of Law 1998. Whether Ionavian is a dialect continuum or a variety of Galician language, however, is a subject of debate, and its use in the Asturian administration is minor compared to the use of the Asturian language. Within Asturias, there is an ongoing process to establish place names in Asturian and Ionavian dialects. Politics. The organization and political structure of Asturias is governed by the Statute of Autonomy of Asturias, in force since January 30, 1982. According to the statute, the institutional bodies of the Principality of Asturias of three: Government of the Principality of Asturias, the Council of the Principality of Asturias and President of the Principality of Asturias. The form of government of the Principality is Parliament. The General Junta is the legislature to choose, on behalf of the Asturian town, the President of the Principality of Asturias. The President is the governing council, the head of executive power, and politically answerable to the General Junta. The functions of the General Junta are the approval of budgets, and the direction and control of the action of the governing council. It is composed of 45 deputies, elected for 4 years through the universal suffrage within a system proportional representation that the allocation of deputies is based on DONT method. The results of the elections to the General Junta are: culture. Architecture. Asturias has a rich artistic legacy that emphasizes indigenous architecture Romanesque with monuments like Santa Maria del Naranco, Santa Cristina de Lina, and San Miguel de Lillo of Ramirez Romanesque style, or San Julian de los Prados, known as Sant'Ullano of Alfonsino pre-Romanesque style, all in Oviedo. In Villavicioso the church there San Salvador de Valdedios and the church of San Salvador de Prisca. In Cabranes highlights San Julian de Vinon. The Romanesque is very present since all Asturias was crossed by one of the Camino de Santiago, highlighting the monastery of San Pedro de Villanueva, the churches of San Esteban de Aramil, San Juan de Ramandi and Santa Maria de Junco. The Gothic is not abundant, but there are good examples of this style as the Cathedral of San Salvador in Oviedo is more present. The Baroque by means of palace architecture, with such notable examples as the Palace of Campo Sagrado and Vilada, the latter seat of Museum of Fine Arts of Asturias. A Baroque style stands out in public civil engineering and bridge toll, the milestones, chairs or couches present along the road to Madrid and the resort of Caldas de Priorio building. In 1985, the UNESCO declared the pre-Romanesque monuments and the Cathedral of Oviedo as World Heritage Sites. As popular architecture, barns in Asturias, called Horreas, are known for its demographic extension and its functional evolution. Having like basic characteristic its demountability, it can be easily transported to another location. The Panera it is the evolution of this, giving examples exceeding 100 square meters of covered area. The purpose of the barn is the barn and dependence to store objects. With the arrival of maize and the beans they were endowed exterior corridors and railings for cured of the harvests. Asturias is the only architectural work of the Brazilian architect and disciple of Le Corbusier Oscar Niemeyer in Spain. The Oscar Niemeyer International Cultural Center. This project was donated to the Principality by the architect, who was awarded with the Prince of Asturias Award for the Arts, as the way of participating in the 25th anniversary of these prizes. Niemeyer projected an open space, a place for education, culture and peace in the Niemeyer Center project combined different elements. In the capital of the Principality stands one of the most representative buildings of modern architecture, the Palace of Congresses of Oviedo. The Spanish architect Santiago Calatrava, prized also with the Prince of Asturias of Arts in 1999. Special importance has in recent years the recovery of industrial heritage through various routes and industrial museums theme especially in the central area of the region. Food and drink. While Asturias is especially known for its seafood, the most famous regional dish is fabada asturiana, a rich stew typically made with large white beans, shoulder of pork, black sausage, and spicy sausage. Apple groves foster the production of the region's traditional alcoholic drink, a natural cider. Since it is natural and bottled without gas, when Asturian cider is served, it is poured in a particular way, el esconchado. The bottle is held above the head allowing for a long vertical pour, causing the cider to be aerated when it splashes into the glass below. After drinking most of the content, it is customary to splash a little out onto the ground, as a way to clean the glass of any lees for the next serving. Traditionally, the same glass is refilled and passed around, with everyone drinking from it in turn. Asturian cheeses, especially cabrales, are also famous throughout Spain and beyond. Asturias is often called the land of cheeses. Sport. Asturias has two main football teams, Sporting de Gijón and Real Oviedo, which have played over 35 seasons in First Division. Other current notable sports teams are Oviedo CB and AB Gijón Jovellanos. Racecar driver Fernando Alonso is a two-time Formula One world champion and races with Asturias flag colors as helmet. Also, cyclist Samuel Sanchez won a gold at the Olympic Games. Football players from Asturias include World Cup winner David Villa as well as Quinny, Luis Enrique, Juan Manuel Mata, Santiago Cazorla among others. Photography. One of the main museums with Asturian old photography is the Museum of the Asturian People to Gijon. The leading photographers of the 19th–20th century in Asturias are Feliciano Campos Pardo, José Fernández y Acutara, Ramón del Fresno. From 1889, Ramón del Fresno and children, Fernando del Fresno, Florentino Iglesias Fernández, Frank, Ramón García Duarte, Jean David, French photographer active in Asturias in 1881 to 1905, Marceliano Cuesta, Luis Muniz Miranda, Modesto Montoto, Baltazar y Acute. The featured photographers of the 20th century are Javier Bauluz, José Ferrero. Literature. These are some personalities of Asturian literature: Antón de Mara Irregular, Gaspar Melchor de Jovellanos, Gumersinda Lava de Ruiz, Ramón de Campoamor, Leopoldo Alas, Clarín, Armando Palacio Valdés, Pepín de Praya, Ramón Pérez de Ayala, Alfonso Camón, Alejandro Casana, Carlos Buzona, Angel González, Corontelado, Gonzalo Suárez, Mariano Antolín Rato, Ismael González Arias, Rafael Rieg, Berta Pinon, Aurelio González Oves, Shanbello, George Moreno,